Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I see about 37 people logged in. That's fantastic. As a reminder, we will record this, so if you have fellow board members that need to watch it later or you want to go over it and give it a practice again, you sure can. Give me a pause. Okay, sorry about that. We had a little bit of feedback. Getting that sorted out so we get this good to go for our first time, or our real time, excuse me. So I'm going to share my screen here quick. There we go. The first thing I want to talk about today are the details for actual delegate assembly. As a reminder, delegate assembly will be held Friday, October 30th at 3 p.m. Central Time. We will email login information to all delegates and their business managers on October 26th, 2020. If you got the email reminder about today's training session, that is the same place you will receive your login information. If your district needs to switch out alternates for delegates, that needs to be done by noon on October 30th. At that point, we will then email login information to the alternate that has now become a delegate. And then, of course, please be on time or early. We will not go back and retake any votes because someone showed up late and missed a vote. Details about how delegate assembly will run. Only delegates may log in via Zoom, and only delegates may vote. A streaming link will be provided for observers, so if your other board members wish to watch, they may do so via the streaming link. All resolutions that we will be voting on and the standing rules and procedures are currently available at ndsba.org. I would encourage you to review those if you have not already. Please do so prior to delegate assembly. And then we will consider all standing resolutions together in one motion. There were no requests to pull any resolution out for individual consideration. And we do have one new resolution for consideration. So unless there are any questions on the details or how, what we will do during delegate assembly, I will get into the details of how Zoom works. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. So when you logged in today, you likely saw this box asking you to enter your email and name. It is very important when you log in for delegate assembly that you enter your name as first name, last name, school district. We'll need to be matching participant names and emails with our registered delegates. So please make sure that we can identify you so that we can count your vote. The remember my name for future meetings doesn't need to be checked. Just ensure that your name box is filled in appropriately. And then of course, click join webinar. Once you have clicked join webinar and have entered the webinar like you are right now, you should be able to see on the bottom of your screen the control panel. The image on the right side is what you will likely see if you are looking at or working on a desktop computer. The image on the left side is an iPhone. So please familiarize yourself with the location of the controls. You have chat, raise your hand, and Q&A. When we call for a motion during delegate assembly, we will ask you if you are willing to make a motion or to second a motion to raise your hand. What that means is we want you to click that white raise hand button in the control panel. Once you have clicked it, it will look like the blue lower hand button on the upper right hand corner of your screen. Wait to be called on. NDSBA staff will identify board members, will identify delegates to call on. If you are called on, you will see the screen below. The box will pop up that says the host would like you to unmute. Click unmute, speak into your microphone, and make the motion. So let's do a practice round. Everybody, I would like everybody to pretend like you are willing to make a motion. I'll only call on one person to try it for real. So please go ahead and click that raise your hand button. There they go. All right, 35 out of 43. Not too bad. Okay. Robin Nelson, I'm going to call on you to make a motion. You want to make a fake motion for me?
Oh, I'd love to make a fake motion. I move that we all rate this training session as A+.
Fantastic. I love that pretend motion. All right. Anybody with their hand still raised want a second? I am going to call on, let's go with Phil Larson. You want to make a second?
I'll second that.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Now your hands should all be lowered. Perfect. You guys nailed it. Good practice. Okay, so once a motion has been made, we will move on to voting. I will start a poll. And if you recall back in the first slide where you had the control panel on the bottom, you only had chat, Q&A, and polls. Once I launch a poll, you're going to pick up the polls button down on the bottom, like in the large graphic on the right. So I'm going to launch a poll now. If you are working on a desktop, the box with the green bar on top should show up in the middle of your screen. If you are working on an iPhone or maybe an iPad, the poll will likely look like the image on the left side of the screen. So go ahead, click your choice, and click submit. Okay. And polling, I will share the results with you. I don't know which two of you said no, but thanks for providing some variety in our results. Okay, so if you have trouble, whoops, we practiced already. If you have trouble with polling, as we have done new member seminar over the last couple of weeks, we've started to learn that I think polling sometimes has issues on Chromebooks. So there are a couple of things that you should check on if for some reason you can't see the poll as demonstrated on the last slide. First, click the poll icon on your control bar. So remember how I said when you first logged in, there was no poll button. There is likely no poll button now. But while we're polling, there will be that poll button. So if you do not see the poll, I'm saying the word poll a lot. If you do not see it, go ahead and give it a click and it might show it, might bring it up. It may have been minimized. The second thing you can do is check other areas of the screen. Sometimes for whatever reason, that poll box will not open up right in the middle of your Zoom, particularly if you are using multiple monitors. And then finally, if all else fails and none of that works, go ahead and send your vote in a private message to Amy DeCook or all panelists. So on the control panel, you have the chat box. To send that private message to Amy, go ahead and click chat. And then on the right side of our image, you'll see all panelists is selected. You can click that little drop-down arrow and you will see Amy DeCook's name. Go ahead and click it and then send her a vote. We'll give you each probably about a minute to 2 minutes to vote when we do real delegate assembly. We will give 20-second, 10-second warnings before we close the poll. So if you're having trouble, don't hesitate to use that chat option to send your vote to Amy. Okay, so more tips for participating in delegate assembly. Please be prepared to speak if you raised your hand. When we call for a motion, hopefully we will get lots more volunteers than we actually need. Be ready to go in case we call on you. Know where your microphone is, whether you are using a headset or an integrated microphone. Know where it is, speak loudly and clearly into it if you are called upon. If you raise your hand for a discussion point after a motion and somebody covers your discussion point and you no longer wish to speak, go ahead and click the blue button, the blue hand, so that you lower your hand and we don't call on you to speak when you no longer wish to speak. Go ahead and use the chat box to provide feedback to Rebecca and Amy and I if something isn't working. If you're having trouble, go ahead and give us a chat box. I see a few of you doing that now. I have a couple of test votes to all panelists. That works. And then I see some saying not seeing Amy's name. Okay. Okay, I may have to do some background work on that. Oh, there we go. Let's try this. Okay, how about now? Can anybody see Amy's name? Nope, all panelists only. Okay, we'll do some work on that and see if we can fix that. Otherwise, all panelists is always going to be an option. That will come straight to Rebecca and Amy and I, so that will get the job done as well. Okay, back to our tips. Desktop computers provide the best experience. It is easiest to get that vote box, to see your chat box, all of the pieces if you are using a desktop computer. iPads, iPhones also work, but please try to go ahead and practice with the device that you plan on using that day. And then, of course, limit background distractions. You will be muted, but please make sure that if by chance you are making a motion and we call on you or you wish to discuss, that there's limited background noise when you do speak. And then, of course, if you are an alternate who ends up getting switched in at the last minute, we will send that login information as soon as we get your switch. So please watch your email for the login link. It may take a little bit, but that is why we have that deadline of noon, so that we can get all of that information out to you in time for delegate assembly at 3 o'clock. So that is all I have. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew how to use polls, how to use chat, and how to raise their hand. At this point, if anybody has questions, I would happily take those either through the chat box or if you want to raise your hand and we would call on you. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. So we will give you back the rest of your Monday afternoon. As I stated before, this video or this webinar will be recorded. We'll make it available on the Delegate Assembly page. It is also available on our new NDSBA YouTube channel, which is where we will broadcast Delegate Assembly on October 30th. So thank you for joining us today. Have a good rest of your afternoon.